With staff's recommendation, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and announce that a quorum is present. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the January 11 meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
If y'all could help me out, because I'm having one of those moments. In our minutes, we indicate in item 3 that I arrived via teleconference. I don't recall that. But does anybody, maybe my memory is faulty.
Well, I thought mine was faulty because I was like, oh, I didn't realize that he popped in, because I could have just relinquished everything back over. But you may
okay, because I'm thinking that may be a hang on from a previous meeting.
It was a hang on from a previous meeting, and we'll get that removed. Yes. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Any other issues with this, the meeting summary? It looked like the meeting went well.
Yes, easy.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
So Amanda and then Randy?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on. Excuse me, it's going to be a interesting sinus and allergy year for us, for me particularly. So if I'm sniffling, my apologies. Item number 3 is providing feedback on the proposed design of a new multifamily development, The Mill, located at the northwest corner of Purnell and South Mill Street at 535, 511, 421, and 419 South Mill Street. This, I think, is a continuation of a very interesting conversation. So when I saw it on the agenda, I certainly caught my eye, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Staff, do you have any, want to take it away?
Yeah, so I'll just pull up here and screen share. Sorry, I think my son just woke from his nap, if you can hear that. You can see the building, and they're proposing the buildings lining the street. So they do have a really good street frontage. We did send their proposed elevations, which you can see here, to our advising architect for his feedback. You can see here that the building does contain a variety of different materials. I'm just kind of trying to zoom into the little material chart, including some vertical and horizontal metal panels, stucco, 2 types of brick, and then also some wood siding. So staff wanted to bring this forward just because the design was a little bit different and fairly modern in some areas. So we wanted to go ahead and get this before the board for some input, and we'll bring it back at a later time for a formal letter of design approval. But today we're just asking the board to provide the developer and the architects some feedback and guidance on the elevations as they're proposed and presented for you today. Some of staff's comments were related to the metal siding, and perhaps that could be reworked to a different type of siding or a wood siding. And then some of the comments that we felt were especially relevant from the advising architect were in relation to adding additional windows on the first floor and creating a little bit more distinction between the first floor and the upper floors. You can see the elevations here, and we do have the architects present today. We have numerous representatives, so if they wanted to add to this, I certainly welcome them. If they would just share their screen so we could, or that they turn on their cameras so we could see them and know who is speaking, that'd be great. But staff's here for questions, and the applicant is as well.
In the meantime, Michelle, could we maximize the image in terms of display? Or is it as maximized as you can get?
If that is as maximized as I can make it, I don't know how it's appearing on your screen. I can zoom in on the image if you want to see it.
I guess do you have control? If
you exit, you can get control, because that's what I did. I have mine pulled up big, and I really can't see you guys but I exited out of her full screen.
Yeah, if you exit full screen, you have a bit more control of how you display it. But I can close this.
Okay, there we go. Let's see if I can find that.
Michelle, I'll ask you a question real quick. And it's per the advising architect's comments that he had that I had kind of read through. So this would be more of a city question. One, I was curious about, like, is that property under the city control, where they were extending it out to? And number two, he had mentioned, like, wider sidewalks and things like that. Is he aware of the expansion and the progress that has gone on down here? And he's saying they even need to be wider, or was he not aware of where we are in the stage of the Mill Street corridor?
I don't think he's aware of the Mill Street project and how far we're along. We haven't brought him into the city in quite some time. He hasn't been in for a meeting since COVID started and we went virtual, so he's not had an opportunity to drive down here. And because we reduced our budget for his services, we haven't really been reaching out to him as much and keeping him as abreast of different things as we would otherwise.
Okay.
Does the committee have any initial observations or questions?
Well, I did see that he'd made a comment about that type of material, because there was the metal, which I have an appreciation for, mixed material in building or design as a whole. Was there like some thoughts of what to bring in to add a different element there instead of the metal?
Perhaps a siding material.
Just like hardy board or something along those lines?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we do have the architect, Frankie, here. I don't know if there's anybody else that would prefer to speak on the project.
Hi, I'm Frankie from Architecture Demos. So yeah, we are looking to adding changing to different materials, but I think the metal panel just kind of looks a little bit more modern, but looks a little bit more high class, I would say. The lap siding, we're using lap siding for the project too. The wood tone, which is wood siding, is pre-finished siding, will give you the wood look. And we try to keep it's like the building can be different materials. Won't read it as one giant building, that kind of stuff. We just break it down into different segments. So that's the main reason we have different materials. So just articulation, like people know, oh, that's the entrance, this is the exit of the building. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Frankie, if I can, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're aware of the Old Town Design Review Committee's charge and their review. Help me understand the comment you just made. Do you think that is something that coexists or support the kind of the historic and the old town feel? Help me understand that from a design perspective.
So the whole idea was like we kind of building the corner leasing office is existing mill building, just like imagine this existing mill building. We add on in different building, just kind of look like a historical building. We add a little bit more building to make it more present to the architecture. So that's let's say if you look at the corner, Michelle, just would you mind to just show it on the corner? We have the mill looking metal building, just kind of look old days mill building, kind of with some kind of copper color, and then very, very nice looking building at the corner. And then we have adding the different pieces of building, just kind of making that more interesting. The brick kind of go ups and down, and very it's just kind of a good touch for the whole entire concept. So that's the main goal. Also, we have the developer also is joining the call too. So this is kind of the vision. We are looking into the old town. Doesn't have to be like look like an old building. We try to make it an old building at the corner, but actually adding to the wings to make it more architecturally like an old farmhouse or type of design, like a mills, that kind of concepts.
I do have an appreciation for that. One, it just brings some definition to the building, and it also brings a little bit more of an authentic element to, or at least a design element to the residence as it stands alone. I know we have the school directly adjacent to that, and then you're kind of leading into Old Town. But I think bringing having it at current times and not just relating to the Old Town kind of historic element, bridging that gap is important. So I personally kind of like it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on the hard corner? That is where you're talking about kind of the copper, the mill Old Town is going to be on that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I like it too. And I think we have a lot of siding in Old Town right here, just around the bank and around that corner with these 4 stories that we have. It might be nice to see that metal, in my opinion, if we're using mixed materials rather than siding.
Yeah, on the left-hand side, you see the corner tower, which is a leasing office entrance, Michelle. And then you see the walnut color, just like a wood pre-finished siding. Then you go to the brown-looking brick building, and then you go into the stucco, which is like more industrial, and then you go to the another walnut type of color, which is wood building. So you look like very breaking into a different scale, not like a giant, building like a Walmart, something like a real big. So we just kind of bring into the building scale, more residential scale, so that you can read it more, kind of pieces. So every time you're looking at different corner, you will see different, architectural, perspective. You know what I'm saying? And you go to the corner on the right-hand side, you see a little bit of like metal corner, just because there's another building right next to it. You see that this is the entrance to the property. So people will come and driving into the property with the gate and stuff like this. So just kind of a articulation, not necessarily, metal looks so contemporary, but actually this is kind of an articulation. So that's the idea.
So Michelle, do you remember the Johnson Feed building that we have over here?
I do, yes.
The new construction. Do I remember correctly that we did kind of approve some of the same type material for them to use within their building?
John, do you want to speak to that? Because I know you handled that case and I don't remember the details very well.
I know that we used mixed materials. I was just trying to remember if some of it was along that same.
Right. We are using mixed materials for Johnson Feed, and a big reason for that is they were just altering the existing buildings on site to allow for that feed store type, but it will have similar to what's shown here. But once again, they're just modifying what's existing. So a lot of that metal, things of that nature are already on site right now.
Well, I was just trying to think about how throughout Old Town, we do have some of that material that appears, like what was Twisted Root that I assume is still going to be the Baja Cantina, with their, oh my gosh, I'm about to say cyclone. They're, oh my gosh, they're not cyclones.
Silos.
Silos.
Thank you. We see some of that material there. Down by the rail. I know we have a little bit of that down there, which could, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be there forever, because those are old existing, buildings that we hope to see something different with. However, that being said, in small little increments, we do see a little bit of that throughout Old Town. So that's where I come from, that, I'm not totally opposed to it, because you're kind of seeing that same thing just as an accent, not primarily any type of structure, but a little bit of an accent kind of throughout, which does tie back to think about the feed mill back in the day. You see their bar out on their patio. So there's a little bit of consistency throughout that. So that's where, I come from, that I'm not totally opposed to it.
Well, Amanda, you bring up an interesting concept, particularly with the old Twisted Root. There's certainly a corrugated component that tends to provide that sense of place that I don't think we're talking about here, unless I'm not reading the images correctly. This material is just a flat metal panel, correct?
Actually, it's not
No,
flat metal panel.
it's not.
It's not.
Okay.
Let me
It's
get
like
back.
a sort of a horizontal banding, like a kind of a reveal in the between them. So they look like kind of a 3D image, not like flat metal.
Okay.
So very kind of a silo type of looking.
Like, so there is a kind of a corrugation.
Corrugates.
Some of them, yeah. So it's different material. So we have not select the exact material yet, but there's so many different kind of profile we can change. We can select. Yeah.
Okay, so the material we're talking about in the little elevation legend, you have one marked O2, which is that galvanized horizontal metal panel. Is that the panel that you're talking about, or for the instance of this presentation that we're seeing on the building itself?
Yes, the legend has the material, even though the brand name on it. So you can welcome to take a look at it, the website. And then they have very different kind of variety of metal. The Barrage is the company, and then they have probably like 15, 20 different kind of yeah. So yeah.
I'm trying to put that on the screen for you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. My printer and my eyesight didn't do it justice.
And I was
okay.
I was matching up what I thought was being kind of where to make sure I was talking about the same thing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I too am comfortable. I like it. I like the mix, kind of the comments that Amanda said. I don't know if I would particularly like to see this on the building that we approved on the corner of Main and Mill, but I think this location at the southern edge of the Old Town District, I think is appropriate and looks great.
Any other questions about the siding material or?
I don't. The overall aesthetic as a whole, I really do like the entrance. I like the copper. I like a little bit into it. I like
Amanda,
differentiation within the brick.
Amanda, you cut out a little bit while you were speaking there, so we didn't quite hear what you were saying after you said you like the copper at the entrance.
Oh, okay. Just how there's the use of the copper at the entrance, and then the different building kind of sections with color gives you a little bit of differentiation instead of it just being like one solid brick building, if that makes sense. There's, some differentiation there, which I think looks nice as well. I'm curious too, as if they've thought about the type of lighting and things that they'll be using on the building, like in the individual units, like where there's a patio and how you have your little patio light, that type of thing. I'm just curious of like what the thoughts are on that. If you've even thought that far ahead. I know that's.
It's pretty, Amanda, it's pretty typical with every single patio have a patio light, So we try to address the entrance will be a little bit special kind. You see the copper light, like a kind of a gooseneck light. That will be on the Mill and then the Pennell Street entrance, so that they are articulated. So, extended further to the leasing office or the some amenity space. So the rest of the unit will have wall sconces of each patio light. So then that will be a must. We've done it pretty much typical throughout all our projects.
Mm-hmm.
I came away from a visit to another multi-unit site in another part of town outside Louisville. It's neither here nor there because I don't think you show it. The sconce lights on the patio. If where I visited, they had they overdid the nautical cage sconce, kind of a pill shaped sconce that had the cage around it. I've after seeing my 100th or 110th of those, I decided I didn't care for them very much. But It's I know there's other designs out there. That's just a very, very popular one right now.
Michelle, I assume once they get to that point, are those the details that come back in the later down the line, like for final approval and such?
Yeah, so that was one of the questions that staff posed is, what are your thoughts for the rest of the lighting? Because the OT DRC does need to see any exterior lighting that's going to be visible from the street. So they did provide kind of what the light spec is around the entranceway where the leasing office is, but what is that going to be further down the building? Now they could bring the elevations forward without that detail and come back at a later date and come to the committee again later if they don't quite get there and don't have that detail just yet. So we could bring this forward twice if that's what the applicant chose to do, or we could bring it forward once. It's kind of up to them and how they want to proceed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I like the lighting that's selected at, I like that it's copper. We have a lot of gooseneck down here and everybody has their own variation. I do like the copper being tied in, with the front and the main entrance of the building. So I think it looks good.
And has the material on the patio railing, is that shown? I don't recall it being in the packet, but that would come back to us.
I believe they're metal, and then they've got some siding on the front. Frankie, is that correct from reading the labels?
I think we have mostly painted metal railing for the patio. It's pretty standard.
Square tubing, or
yeah, and pretty standard. So with a post and then vertical pickets. So, they can paint it whatever color we want, but we don't want to be so making the railing just to pop up. We just want to be subtle because it's like, so it's kind of blend into the building. That's why you see the more monotone type of colors. Right. So we don't want for sure not pink, so we just put something like dark gray color and then kind of matching the building. So it's because like an old town, like idea or some kind of old town, you won't have a lot of different color, just somehow subtle but enough for the distinguish the building. So
I have this particular view is particularly helpful for my next question. But before I do that, does anybody else have questions about the design components?
Well, my question, I think Greg's comments, architect's comments about having the first, he raised about having the first floor higher. And I know a lot of buildings, they do have that. I don't know if that's possible. I'd like a reaction from the building architect on that. And he mentioned about adding front entries, which I think are good, but I don't think you can make this happen in this particular building, this design. So it's like this reaction from the building architect.
Yeah, appreciate it, Randy. Sorry, I just want to chime in a little bit. Yes, you will see that from the elevation side, you see all the unit basically fill out all these boxes. We have entrance from the to the building next to the leasing office. We have entrance on the end of the building, which is resident, if they walk on the street, they can go to the end. It's kind of more like security reason. We don't want to have too many entrances into the building. So then you have to add security access for each one, in case never things happen, right? So we just try to be more minimize the entrance. So you can see that there's a door at there's a mail room that the post office guy can get into the building by just the code. So that's pretty much it. So it's more like I feel like security purposes, not trying to get too many entrances. So that's the response.
My question has to do with the roof line. I'm assuming that the things that are shown as composite channel, is that where the HVAC, the compressors are going to be?
Yeah, the HVAC will be on the roof, so you won't see it on the ground. And then we're still investigating about the roof because of the, we try to make it more old mill building because, shed roof sometimes may not be very, appropriate. I don't know. We're still investigating this design yet, but we still need to talk to the ownership about it. But yes, all the condenser is on the roof, so you're not going to see it from the street, and then there will be proper screened, and then you won't see it. It will probably in the middle of the building above the corridor, so that you won't see it until you find a drone or something to see it.
So there is the possibility that the roof line would, if not in construction and in presentation, would vary along the profile of the building.
Yes, the roof line will be a little bit different later on, but the profile of the building, you see that parapet, they all stay the same. So just only you see that the gray light color of the roof is just behind the elevation. You won't see it from the street level at all. Just kind of behind. Unless you're on a 4-story building across the street, you will see it. But from the street level, you're not going to see it. So,
in terms of the pedestrian, the walkability around, has a landscaping plan been developed at this point?
We are in process, but since we are taking into consideration the existing sidewalk and all the new development, so we kind of see what we have, and then we just put some landscaping outside of each patio, around the patio, so make it more, streetscape, better, so the rendering is very a conceptual thing. So once we get that taken care of, it should be some landscaping drawings that will be submitted to the permit, and then at that time, building permit. Yeah.
Question for Michelle or John. Now that Mill Street has been redone and it's got, I don't know, half a dozen driveway aprons, when this project goes ahead, will those all be reconstructed and put back into sidewalk and back in parking or landscape islands?
So we'd love to have timing that we'd only have to do these things once, but we don't. So yeah, they would do their driveway here to get into the site, and then their driveway down that's along Purnell Street. So they have their 2 points of access. They'd also have an emergency kind of access point over from Edwards Street, just for fire purposes. If fire needed to come in a different way, they talked about potentially doing that, but I'm not sure if that's actually required anymore, since they got these two to be far enough apart. But yes, the rest of the driveways would be reconstructed because they would like to have that reverse angled parking to help support the residential.
And this builds right up to the meat market, right? So like Brian's Auto, those buildings, this property includes the consumption of that basically, right? Yeah, so here you can see the meat market kind of in the aerial that's grayed out a little bit here. This would go right up to there. And so then, okay. And so is this going to be like the original project that we have over here where, we had the propane shop and such. So there was a plan, and then that all fell through to where then they had to redevise, how they were going to build out for them to then sell later down the line? Or is this all a done deal? I would refer to see, I know there's 3 current property owners. Mm-hmm. And so they're working on acquiring all the tracts in question. I would defer that to the applicant, but I believe they've made very good progress on all of that. Okay, that answers my question.
Hi, Amanda. This is Shay Byers. I'm one of the partners of the development team. I can answer that question.
Okay.
So we're actually closing on all 3 tracks, the 419, 421, and 535 South Mill next week, maybe into this week, next week. The property at the top, that little square that's in green, that little square there, yes, that's the Hat parcel, which is owned by the city as of last week. And the property just north of it, that parcel that's the meat market. And We are talking to the city and the proprietor there about kind of a smaller phase 2, but we're really nowhere with that right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think it looks great. It anchors the other end of, Old Town Louisville along Mill Street. So I think this is great.
Well, from just the scale, I am excited about the potential of really. This isn't nickel and diming the area. This is going to be an impressive statement piece that covers a large area, and it's a really great opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very nice.
Staff, the way I understand this item, would you like us to formulate a statement, or is the conversation enough?
The conversation is sufficient. We just wanted you guys to provide them some initial feedback before they made any revisions based on our comments.
Okay.
So let me get back to the agenda, because if there's nothing else, if no one has any further comment, that's the only item we had to talk about today.
Well, I like these meetings. These are good. There's no hard decisions to make, and it's almost cheating, isn't it? So with that, are there any other items or issues the committee would like to bring up? I don't know if I know the staff, we had, I'll probably talk with you offline about it, but I know the progress on the comprehensive plan was an item of some discussion several meetings ago. So I will just say, as a chair, so I'll speak for the group and say we're interested.
Okay.
But any other items from the committee members? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
I
motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Staff, do you have that?
A motion by Ben Utley and second by Amanda Ferguson.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really did appreciate the presentation. I've learned a lot from y'all, and I think these type of opportunities serve us all very well.
Thank you so much, Jack and all.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Look forward to seeing your progress.